Right now, nothing is timing your breathing. Nothing is waiting outside your door for your fire to burn low. You don't even notice that silence. That's how completely you won. But your ancestors did not get that luxury. Not for one bad winter, not for one rough year. For over 2 million years of being genus Homo on a planet built to eat things exactly your size. No claws, no fangs, no armor, no fur thick enough to matter. A hyena the size of a lioness could crack bones that would shatter a modern predator's teeth. And here's the part almost nobody tells you. For most of that time, you weren't hunting anything. You were the thing being hunted. We have the skull of a 3-year-old to prove it, punctured straight through the eye sockets. Not a lion, not a wolf, an eagle. It picked a member of your own family tree out of the grass and carried it into the sky to eat. So the real question isn't how ancient humans survived predators by being tough, it's how something this soft, this slow, this laughably under-equipped ever clawed its way off the menu completely. And the answer is stranger and honestly more disturbing than most documentaries have ever actually told you. Let's start with exactly how outmatched you really were. Go back further than any campfire story usually takes you. 2.5 million years. Early Homo. Small brains still under construction. No controlled fire yet, no spears, no language holding a group together with anything more than grunts and gestures. Biologically speaking, you were prey, not an apex predator having a rough week. Prey, full stop. And the things hunting you were not the lions and leopards you picture today. They were worse. Pachycaruda brevirostris, a hyena built like a lioness, close to 110 kilograms of muscle and jaw, engineered by evolution to crack open bones that would break a modern hyena's teeth. Cave bears that stood over your head on their hind legs. Cave lions denning in the exact rock shelter your family needed for shelter too. Saber-toothed cats with canines longer than a human hand, built for one job: puncture, hold, wait. None of them were cartoons. All of them were real, and all of them were hungry near the exact same water your family needed to survive. Because that's the cruelest part of the whole setup. Predators don't wait at random. They wait exactly where thirst forces you to show up. You weren't just occasionally in danger. You were on a schedule with it. In 1925, in a quarry near a town called Taung in South Africa, workers pulled a small skull out of the rock. A child, roughly 3 years old, dead for more than 2 million years. For decades, nobody could agree on how it died. Then, in 2006, paleoanthropologist Lee Berger at the University of the Witwatersrand looked closer at the eye sockets. Puncture marks. Talon marks. The exact signature a crowned eagle leaves today, ripping into a monkey skull to reach the brain. An eagle did that, to a member of your own lineage. That's not a horror movie detail. That was an ordinary Tuesday for roughly the first 2 million years of being human. So how does something get eaten by hyenas, cats, and literal birds of prey for 2 million years straight and still end up as 8 billion people running the entire planet? It isn't because you got tougher. You didn't. It's because you got smart about one specific thing first: sticking together. Think like the predator for a second. You're a hyena scanning open ground at dusk. One human, alone at the water's edge. Simple, quiet, efficient. Now picture 25 humans instead. Some of them already screaming, throwing rocks, closing distance instead of running. Suddenly, the math changes completely. This is called the dilution effect, and it isn't just a nice theory, it's math. Biologist W.D. Hamilton laid it out in 1971. The more bodies between you and the predator, the lower the odds it's specifically you that gets grabbed. You don't have to outrun the hyena, you just have to not be the unlucky one out of 25. And groups didn't just dilute the risk. They fought back together, mobbing threats the way chimpanzees still do today. Screaming, throwing, advancing as one mass instead of scattering as individuals. Here's what most large predators actually can't afford: a fight. A lion with a rock to the face or a spear grazed to the shoulder might not hunt for weeks, and a predator that can't hunt starves. So the safest meal always wins, and a screaming wall of 25 humans throwing rocks is not the safe meal anymore. But sticking together only solved the daytime problem. At night, you were still almost helpless. You sleep roughly 8 hours out of every day, a third of your entire life completely unconscious, barely able to hear, completely unable to fight. For an animal with no walls in a world full of things that hunt after dark, that is a staggering weakness. So before fire, the most common fix was simple: get off the ground. Chimpanzees still build a fresh sleeping nest in a tree every single night of their lives. Your ancestors almost certainly did the same, and the shoulder anatomy of early Homo suggests they kept real climbing strength long after their feet were already built for walking. A tree didn't make you safe from everything. Leopards climb better than almost anything alive, but a tree took you off the menu for lions, hyenas, and most other ground predators. Caves were the other option, and caves came with a brutal catch. The same shelter that blocked wind and rain was exactly the real estate cave bears and cave lions already wanted for their own dens. Moving into a cave wasn't just finding shelter, it was moving into somebody else's house, somebody who'd already been living there for years. Fire is what finally ended that trade-off completely. You've heard fire mattered before. Every documentary says so, but almost none of them have this number because it's brand new. This year, researchers led by Leora Kolska-Horowitz at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and Michael Chazan at the University of Toronto published new findings from Wonderwork Cave in South Africa. Burnt bone found deep inside the cave, far past where lightning or wildfire could ever reach on their own, dated between 1.07 and 1.79 million years ago. That is not a typo. Nearly 1.8 million years of carrying fire on purpose into the dark, before language the way you'd recognize it, before spears, before almost anything else you'd call human. Here's why that number actually matters. Almost every large land predator alive has an instinctive fear of fire, hardwired, not learned. They evolved around fire as pure random danger. Lightning, wildfire, something with no pattern and no mercy. So when a leopard smells smoke, its brainstem doesn't say curiosity, it says retreat. Imagine being that leopard, prowling at night, looking for an easy kill. You feel heat from 40 meters out. You see light that ruins your entire advantage because darkness was your only weapon, and now everything near that fire can see you coming. You don't attack, you leave. Night stopped being the deadliest stretch of your day. People started sleeping in shifts, someone always watching the flame, someone always watching the dark beyond it. Real quick before we go further, because the next part of this story is the strangest one by far, and honestly, this channel doesn't get nearly enough of you subscribed compared to how many of you watch. If ancient survival stories like this are actually worth your time, the subscribe button costs nothing, and it's genuinely the only reason channels like this get to keep digging up stuff most documentaries never mention. Alright, back into it. Fire solved the night. It didn't solve the hunt, because on paper you were also one of the worst equipped hunters on the entire savanna. A lion can hit roughly 60 kilometers an hour. A hyena can sustain close to 40. Even an elite human sprinter tops out around 45 for a few seconds before collapsing. So how does the slowest predator on the field ever actually catch anything? It doesn't sprint. It doesn't need to. In 2004, biologists Dennis Bramble at the University of Utah and Daniel Lieberman at Harvard's Peabody Museum published research in the journal Nature. Endurance running, they showed, is a trait built into the genus Homo, dating back roughly 2 million years. You have far more sweat glands across your skin than almost any other mammal on Earth, less body hair, a body built to run and cool itself down at the exact same time. Ask a lion to jog for 4 hours in the midday heat. It can't. It overheats and dies long before you would. That single mismatch, you outlasting almost everything that could ever outrun you, is called persistence hunting. Track it. Chase it. Don't stop. Let its own body defeat it in the heat while yours just keeps working. You were never the fastest thing on the savanna. You were the thing that never had to stop. And once you could outwalk almost anything alive, the next upgrade was distance. At a site called Boxgrove in England, archaeologists found a rhinoceros shoulder blade, 500,000 years old, with a wound in it that matches a thrown weapon. Someone speared a rhino 500,000 years ago, and it lived long enough for the bone to start healing. Then, in Germany in the 1990s, archaeologist Hartmut Thiem pulled complete wooden spears out of a coal mine in a place called Schoningen, weighted at the tip, shaped for flight, built by someone who understood physics flight without ever having a word for physics. For decades, those spears were dated to roughly 400,000 years old, the oldest weapons ever found. Then, last year, a new study using amino acid dating on snail shells buried in the same layer, led by researchers including Jared Hudson at the Leibniz Zentrum for Archaeology and Kirsty Pankman at the University of York, moved that date to around 200,000 years, which means the timeline you were told your whole life was wrong by literally hundreds of thousands of years, and the spears weren't even made by your species. They were made by Neanderthals. Even the story of the very first weapon keeps getting rewritten. But whoever held it first, the spear, changed the entire transaction between predator and prey. You could hurt something without it ever getting close enough to hurt you back. A wounded predator learns fast. One thrown spear and an entire population of animals starts treating humans as something to avoid, not something to eat. The fear started switching directions. There's a term ecologists use for this: the landscape of fear. The idea that prey animals don't just react to a predator standing right in front of them, they build a mental map of danger across an entire territory. This valley is safe in summer. This waterhole turns deadly once the dry season starts. Ancient humans built that same map, except they could do something no gazelle ever could: share it out loud, across a fire, across generations. One bad encounter with a cave lion stopped being one person's private trauma. It became the whole group's permanent knowledge, passed down to children who'd never even seen the animal that nearly killed their grandmother. Quick, genuine question, because I actually want to know this one. Out of everything so far, the giant hyena, the saber-toothed cat, the eagle that took a child, which one do you think you'd have had the least chance against? Drop it in the comments, I read them. Because slowly, generation by generation, the map stopped being just about staying alive on it. Groups that knew the terrain started using fire to push predators out of caves they wanted for themselves, started hunting the very species that used to hunt them, deliberately, not just in self-defense. The relationship didn't just balance out, it reversed completely. And here's the part that's honestly a little uncomfortable to sit with. Look at what happened next on nearly every continent within a few thousand years of fully modern humans showing up. The woolly mammoth, gone. The cave bear, gone. The saber-toothed cats that used to make you sleep with one eye open, gone. Climate played a role. Researchers still argue exactly how much, but humans are the only variable that shows up in the timeline everywhere, every single time, right before the disappearance. The same animals that hunted your ancestors for 2 million years couldn't survive the version of you that came out the other side. So think back to where we started. Nothing is timing your breathing tonight. Nothing is waiting by your door. That silence you didn't even notice at the start of this video wasn't always there. It's not the default setting of the world. It's the result. What's left over after 2 million years of a soft, slow, clawless animal refusing generation after generation to just accept being food. Every fire kept through a shift. Every rock thrown as a group instead of running alone. Every piece of knowledge passed down about which valley turns deadly in the dry season. All of it built piece by piece into the exact quiet you're sitting in right now. You didn't win this war by being strong. Nothing about you was ever built to win it that way. You won it by refusing to stop adapting, one generation past the one before it, until the thing hunting you had no move left to make. The predators never understood what they were actually dealing with. By the time they figured it out, it was already too late for them. And you're still here, watching this, in the quiet.